Hello and welcome. It's Wednesday and it's the 21st of June 2023. And for us in the Northern Hemisphere, it's what is called the summer solstice or Midsummer's Day. And this is celebrated by Druids and other pagan followers, and it has done so for centuries, if not millennia. Thank you again for listening and watching my vlogs. If you enjoy them so much, please encourage others to subscribe and share. I'd like to take a little pause this week just to reflect on images that I've seen on television and articles I have read about the atrocities across the world, and that it is very, very, very sad and disappointing. Here in the UK, recently in Nottingham, we had some shootings and somebody was killed when they were run over by their van, which had been stolen from them. So my thoughts are very confused, really, as to why these things happen. And of course, there are weekly reports, if not daily, of shootings across the pond and other parts of the country. And all I can say is my heart goes out to all those that are bereaved. Now, these reports, of course, put a perspective on what's been going on over here in the UK in recent weeks. Many of you from the UK have written to me to say that you are angry and in some cases ashamed of what's going on and how our politicians are behaving. And some of you from outside our shores have just simply been asking what our honours system is and how it works. Well, in a snapshot, Parliament in the UK, the main Parliament is referred to as Westminster, and there are two chambers. There's the House of Commons, which has about 650 elected members of Parliament, and then we have our scrutinising chamber, affectionately known as the House of Lords, and of the 780 peers that sit in the House of Lords, most of them are appointed, and there are a handful of hereditary peers. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's for others to decide. Should an MP be accused of breaking rules or something more serious, then they are referred to what is called the Privileges Committee, which is a committee made up of all party members. It's what they call a cross-party forum, and they gather all the information about the situation that they can, and then they make a ruling. Now, our former Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, was accused of misleading the House when he told them that in December 2020 he was not aware of any Christmas parties taking place in Downing Street or Whitehall. And this is at a time when everybody during COVID was told that they couldn't and shouldn't have parties. And if they were going to have gatherings, they should be very small gatherings with social distancing. It transpires that Boris did know at least some of what was going on. And there's evidence that he was actually present at some of them. Historically, evidence shows that Boris has a very loose link with the truth, shall we say. But MPs and ministers must be trusted. They must be trusted to tell the truth. The Privileges Committee, which has a majority of Tory MPs, which is what Boris was, and it must be remembered, it's a committee that he made up and more or less selected who should go on it. They ruled that Boris had misled Parliament, and they suspended him from Parliament for 90 days. Now, traditionally, if an MP is suspended for 15 days or more, then this should trigger a by-election. But Boris had sight of the report before it was published and just decided to resign there and then. And meanwhile, there is this tradition that former MPs, when they leave office, he or she put together a list of people that they wish to honour, with various gongs, including peerages. Now, in Boris's case, there's been a question about the quality of some of the people that he has put forward for peers to be a member of the House of Lords. And also, there are a few MPs who resigned because they weren't offered a peerage. It's all very as far as I'm concerned, and just shows how dishonourable some of these people are. There appears to be a lack of honour or respect, and this, in my opinion, is particularly for the younger people very dangerous indeed. They're being put off of politics, and with a general election looming, because it'll be with us within a year, it's very important that the younger people do engage. From my personal experience, I've found that most MPs avoid the limelight. They're quite happy to be on the back benches and work hard for their constituents. And some of them have been there for 30 or 40 years, so they must be good, having been re-elected so many times. Now, as for reforming the House of Lords, it should be noted that the House of Lords themselves have put forward suggestions many times, but these suggestions have been quashed by the House of Commons. In my opinion, and I've said this before, some agree with me and some don't, but I think an elected upper chamber would be a mistake. It's a scrutinising chamber, that's all it is. And so what we need is people with knowledge and expertise, and be absolutely definitive in their field. I would reduce the size of the House of Lords by removing all former politicians, because they don't actually need to be there. I mean, many former prime ministers haven't been elevated to the House of Lords. I mean, Sir Winston Churchill, of course, is the most famous, but also Edward Heath, Sir John Major, and Sir Gordon Brown. They haven't been elevated to the House of Lords, and furthermore, they didn't or don't think that they need to be, because if they have information that a committee thinks that they need to have, then they will be, as the phrase is called to committee. Should any former politician have a specific skill but be entered into the House of Lords? Well, I think that's up to those who decide these things. I have no objection if there is a politician with a high skill set, they should get a peerage. But what we need now from all politicians is a bit more honesty and a bit more honour, and above all, to work together. Britain is broken, and the only way to repair it is for us to all work together and not keep on slinging mud at each other. Now, for those of you who are complaining about some MPs and their behaviour, just think, who selected them in the first place, and who voted for them? Well, with that, I'll just say thank you again for listening. Until next time, toodle pip.